it's hard to change people if they know their history, because they belong to something. They belong to a family. They belong to a nation, which is just a bigger family. And if they can break that down, the left's really good at breaking down families and breaking down, the monarchy. And it's because once you belong to nothing, we want to belong, so then they can offer the solution of then you wanting to belong to something, because we've got rid of what you used to belong to.
Well, they can create the new man, beginning at year zero, the atomized individual who's outside of space and time, who's self-generative. He's not created. He's not part of a culture or a country or a tradition over time. There's no future for him. He's always in the now. You
don't have a history because it starts now.
Exactly, and you don't have a future because tomorrow is day one as well. And and so this I think is just exemplified by a bunch of woke leftists on Twitter, like this Martin Durkin guy, who's just like, what are we doing? This is the 21st century. What the hell are we doing? And it's like, sorry, Martin, we're doing something important. Have you not seen the building? The building's ancient. Look at all those people there, and they all know why they're there. And you're the only one on the outside going, oh, I don't understand this at all. It's like, sorry, man, we're actually, what we're doing is making sure that people in the future won't be embarrassed of us. Like, I know that's hard to believe, but in the same way that I just covered, you can go back to King George or William Gladstone, this is the same thing. We're making sure that we did our part.
And tradition is about passing on the lessons previous generations learned the hard way. That's what tradition's about, so you don't make the same mistakes. We may not understand, or he definitely doesn't understand, why those people are in that hall. But there's a reason. He just doesn't know the reason.
And that's very much Edmund Burke's view of tradition, is that, look, actually a lot of good things are built up in the traditions, and even if you don't understand why these things work, and often because they're the work of so many minds, over so many hands, over so many generations, you couldn't plan it out, you couldn't even explain it. But the thing has a life of its own and provides benefits of its own, and it's irresponsible not to pass that down.
And the poor traditions, or the things that added no value to society, are discarded over time.
That's exactly right. They don't become traditions. That don't have any power, and that's the point, isn't it? Because this is what keeps everything together. This is a genuine sort of spiritual locus of this country. And so Martin here being like, well, I don't understand this. I was born yesterday. I've got no knowledge of the past. Shut up, Martin. Anyway, so the New York Times had a nice take on this, which is amazing. King Charles is out of touch with the regular people. It's like, he's a king. I wouldn't expect him to know what they really do us down here. It's like, the public's using food banks. So, well, a small portion of the public is using food banks. Most people are not using food banks, just so you know. Again, the British public is reliant on food banks. Thanks, New York Times, for making us sound like we're an impoverished third world hole. But of course, King Charles is not, but look at the view. Well, your king doesn't know what it is to use a food bank. It's like, that would be embarrassing, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be humiliating if your king had to go to a food bank?
He's trained all his life for this role.
Yeah. And everyone's been joking about how he's been waiting decades because Elizabeth lived to 96. But again, look, the perspective is very much like the French Revolution perspective. Well, why aren't we all equal? It's like, because we aren't equal. No one's equal anywhere, ever.
No.
And that's okay.
On many, many different levels.
Exactly. In every conceivable way.
I'm not equal to a 6'6" basketball player.
No.
I'm not equal to someone who's been to Oxford University and had a private education.
No.
But, some other ways I will be better than some of those people I've mentioned in other ways.
Yeah. You've got different life experiences. It's just the way of the world. But again, the revolutionary in America can't understand what it is they're looking at. It's like, but food banks. What about food banks? Anyway, so speaking of food banks, in fact, I don't know, is this normal for everything to close on the day of the funeral of the monarch? It probably is.
I think it would have been 100 years ago. Yeah. But because we're in a society now that's 24/7, we don't even respect Sundays anymore or anything, that it seems a bit odd.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I'm actually not against this because I assumed that it was traditional, although I couldn't find anything on it. But I assumed that this was something that was just done It's probably done for King George or something.
And I think it's done for the people who work in those shops, because rather than spending the day working, bringing money into the capitalist system, those people can now be with their family and friends and contemplate the change that's happening in the country.
Yeah. John makes another good point. No, all the closures are voluntary as well. No one's, we'll get to the lockdowns in a minute, in fact. But that, put a pin in that as well. This is anti-capitalist, right? This is very anti-capitalist. It's capitalist to have them open 24/7, 365 days a year. And so it's interesting how, again, you see the magic of the tradition imposing itself on modernity and saying, actually, no. And again, it's all voluntary.
You can't be a capitalist without a secure, fantastic country above it.
Yes.
Because then there is no capitalism if you don't have that country.
Yeah. And so essentially everything's closing. Now, people have been asking, well, are you guys going to be broadcasting on Monday, which is the day of the funeral? I think we will, but obviously we'll do something appropriately sensitive to the occasion and talk about that subject. But it was very interesting. Just, again, Noah Robson, just some modernist who's just like, everything's closing. I don't understand why. I mean, there are some odd ones, I'm not going to lie. The Met Office decided to stop giving regular weather forecasts. Norfolk City Council closed their cycle racks. I mean, that's okay, don't get me wrong, bit odd.
Well, some of it now has gone into the realm of virtue signaling, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. CrossFit included a 1-minute rest in silence and tribute workout. Centre Parks decided to kick all the guests out of the village. I mean, I don't think the Queen would have asked for that. Morrison's has turned off the beeps at its checkouts. So, come on, again, that's a bit silly.
Yeah.
And Wimbledon Food Bank has closed out of respect. It's like, possibly didn't need to do that either. But like you're saying about the capitalism, though, right? You would think if it was any other thing, any other day, somewhere like The Guardian would be like, it's great that these things are closing. It's an attack on the capitalist system. It gives the workers a day off.
Those poor workers.
Yeah, there are lots of left-wing reasons to say, it'd be good to give them an extra bank holiday, to get them off work. Until, of course, it's for the Queen. Yeah. And then The Guardian's like, well, hang on a second. There's a recession coming, don't you know?
I may run out of my soy milk.
It's not even that, actually. They're like, there's a recession threat that looms as the UK grinds to a halt to mourn the Queen. Yeah. And it's like, you guys love recessions.
Yeah.
You guys love this. You see this as a step towards the communist revolution. Don't give me this absolute BS. Like, listen to this, right?
They don't want the workers sat at home with the TV on, watching the funeral of the Queen going, do you know what? My country's amazing. Yeah. Look at what we do.
Exactly.
The world's tuned in for this. The whole world is watching this.
Yeah. That is honestly nail on the head there. If it was for anything else, like if you can go to the next one, you see The Guardian was completely pro-lockdown. And they were like, the lockdowns are bad for you, but not to do it would have been worse. We don't care about the economy. We don't care about your mental health. No. Lock you down because that'll be good against capitalism. But as soon as, like you say, it would be a benefit to the traditional structures of this country, they're like, oh no, we've got to go to work. Get those workers out to work. Can't have a day off. Recession's coming, don't you know?
It's a paid bank holiday. The left should be celebrating another free day for workers to relax at home.
I know. No, you've got to go work for your capitalist masters, says The Guardian. It's honestly just transparently disgusting, and I can't stand it. Anyway, so moving on, we get a lot of losers posting their L's online. Roughly every 6 days in the world, a country celebrates its independence from Britain. I think we're meant to be ashamed of that.
No, I think the what's the word I'm looking for? The dismantling of the British Empire was the safest, less death, most mutual beneficial dismantling of an empire ever. And it was so successful, many of those countries then said, can't we start something voluntarily? Let's call it the Commonwealth and let's all still be friends and do things together. That's how evil our empire was.
Yeah, and that is, honestly, that is exactly the right way to put it. Like, you do not have a mutually beneficial Commonwealth of nations that are on friendly terms for decades after the end of the empire if the product of the empire was just purely negative.
Where's the French Commonwealth?
Well, that's a great question.
Where's the Portuguese and Spanish Commonwealth in South America?
Do the Haitians really want to have a Commonwealth with France?
Yeah.
For anyone who knows anything about the Haitian Revolution, well, it wasn't pretty.
No.
Yeah, exactly. And Britain voluntarily decolonized. And so this is not only not a point of shame, in my opinion, this is a win. Yeah, you're welcome, world. Then you get the absolute clowns. You get people like this, like anti-monarchists arrested after shouting, "Who elected him?" It's like, mate, you're a Monty Python character. You're actually a character in a Monty Python skit. Like,
he is, but again, he shouldn't be arrested for that.
No, of course not.
We always have fools, and there's fools in every society, in every community. And if he wants to be a fool and shout that, then he takes that risk himself with the crowd.
Yep.
But he shouldn't be arrested because, again, our police, overstep the mark all the time now.
Well, yeah, I was gonna get into that. So yeah, this guy, an actual clown from a Monty Python skit, and also, people elected Hitler, so calm down about being like elections are so great. They
elected Trump.
They elected
and I bet
Trump.
He doesn't like Trump.
Yeah, it looks like in Italy and Sweden they're going to be electing more right wing. So calm down about those elections, buddy. Like King Charles is a deep environmentalist, is he not? Gives lots of money, does lots of charitable things, blah blah blah. Calm down there. But anyway, so going on to that, I meant to take out this John Oliver link, but John Oliver made jokes about the Queen's death, and so that was cut from UK showing. But he's not funny, so I don't know why they'd broadcast him at all. But this is the thing, isn't it? Who wanted the offence laws?
The left.
There we go.
Because at that moment in time, it suited them. Yep. And that's what always happens when you want a sword for justice. Yep. You always forget swords have two sides, two cutting edges, and it can be used on you just as easily when the tables turn.
And that's why I have absolutely no sympathy for this barrister who held up a blank piece of paper near the House of Parliament, was told that he risked being arrested if he wrote "Not My King" on it. It's like, not my problem, mate. Not my problem at all. Like, there was a guy in Scotland who had written "Islam is questionable" on a wall, and he got arrested for this. It's like, right, Islam is questionable. No, that's offensive.
Everything is questionable.
Well, I would have thought so.
Everything.
And I don't think these guys should be arrested, but then I don't think we should have offence laws.
No.
Because I'm an old-fashioned Englishman like that.
And this is one step further on than that. This is Minority Report. This is, I think you may write on that paper, then hold it up.
Yeah.
So what's next? You have a pen in your pocket. It's, where does this start?
Exactly. Can we agree with the leftists now who would like to be offensive during the transition to the new king? Can we agree that we need to get rid of these offence laws?
Everything is offensive to somebody.
Exactly.
Everything is.
Exactly. And so you just have to get over it. It's actually your own personal method of dealing with it that's important. But 3 arrests at least have been made on suspicion of breach of the peace and public or offences because of anti-monarchical sentiment. It's like, okay, well, I don't think you should go to jail. I don't think you should be arrested, but I don't think people should be arrested for things they say on Twitter either. So, you made the bed, get effed in it. Incidentally, there was a really funny event that happened in Mecca over this. A Yemeni man published a video clip of himself on social media at the Grand Mosque in Mecca, where non-Muslims are forbidden, holding up a banner saying, "Umrah for the soul of Queen Elizabeth II. We ask God to accept her in heaven among the righteous." He got arrested for that.
Is this the same story, or is this a different one where the man at Mecca was arrested for saying he's done his pilgrimage in honour of the Queen?
No, this is I'm not familiar with that one. In this particular one, he specifically had a banner and he videoed himself doing it. So, but I mean that's
well, we don't hold the Saudis to any sort of standard, do we?
But that's the point. Our offence laws have put us in the same box as the Saudis.
Yeah.
We are actually arresting people for the same reasons that the Saudis would do. And that if that's not a wake-up call to the Conservatives to say, well, hang on a second, maybe we should get rid of the Communications Act of 2003, particularly Section 127, which is how, and any other breach of the peace, offence laws that we've got on the books. Maybe we should get rid of these. That would be a good idea, so people could have a bit of free speech in public. Anyway, moving on, The Guardian published this particular view on the Parliament. The Parliament shouldn't bend the knee to the monarchy. It's like the Parliament can do anything it wants, actually. So why do you need to sort of start bigging up the Parliament, being like, is this the time? But that's the thing. I noticed that this, again, just has no teeth. Right? There's no force behind this. They can't, listen to this from the end, right? Who is the head of state does not matter. Birthright is not the right way to choose one. Parliament is the place to decide whether Britain needs a slimmed-down monarchy or not one at all. This is an appeal there is an appeal to a sovereign to stand above the fray in the modern age of political populism. But MPs should not bend the knee before inheritance and rank. Modern Britain has little need for trappings and privileges that belong to another age. It just feels empty, doesn't it?
2 quick points. The first point is these are the same people who won unelected citizens' assemblies.
Oh yes, and they love the bureaucracy as well.
Yeah, so they don't mean what they say there.
Yeah.
And B, if you are an MP, you have to place your trust and your obedience to the monarch, because head of state. How can you have members of parliament who have not shown their fealty to the head of state? It just wouldn't make any sense. Because then that person then is not head of state of the whole country, only the head of state for the people who support the head of state. And then that's not head of state, is it?
Yeah. Whose parliament are you a member of?
Yeah.
It's the King's Parliament. That's the whole point. But the point is, they're like, modern Britain has little need for the trappings and privileges that belong to another age. It's like, I don't see that at all. What I see are literally millions of people who are suddenly moved by the ancient trappings, who are living in modern Britain and saying, no, I don't really like modern Britain. I actually like the ancient trappings and the ceremony and the structure that's built up around that. This Guardian editorial, this it just felt like it was totally out of touch with the spirit of what's currently going on. Literally huge numbers of people being moved by this, and they're just like, yeah, no one needs this. Nah, I think it does, actually.
Because it's our history. It all means something. We may not understand what any of it means, most people, but some people understand what some of it means.
Yeah.
But it's our tradition. It's where we came from. It's how we've got to where we are.
Yeah, it's our story.
Through following. That's it. It's our story.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Stories are so important. And in fact, I've got a great story that will come to nearly an end on this. So you're aware of Afua Hirsch?
She annoys me all the time.
It's hard to find someone who's more anti-British than Afua Hirsch. And of course...
she moved to Africa for a couple of years.
And then got assaulted.
Got robbed, got sexually assolted, came back and said, I'm not too keen on Africa.
Yeah, I know. And it was specifically Ghana, where her mother was from.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, yes. And she's got a story from her time in Ghana that's pertinent now, right? She says, I will never forget visiting Independence Arch in Ghana. This was the nation proud to have been the first black African people to successfully break free from empire, and here was the first physical focal point of that freedom, an archway bearing a symbolic black star. When I looked inside, I found a reality check. A plaque dedicated this freedom to none other than Queen Elizabeth II. Just owned from beyond the grave.
Because the British Empire and the Queen were not hated.
No, they weren't. They're like, thank you for decolonising, Queen.
Yes.
And they put up a plaque to her. And Afua Hirsch has spent her entire life demonising Britain and the monarchy, and gets there and realises that the actual people from Ghana like the Queen. And they put up a thing saying, thank you, in honour of Queen Elizabeth. And she's just sat there like, I can't believe it. And so she's like, I understood it as a lesson that even in our freedom, we are not free. Oh, God, give it up. What more do you want? What could we possibly give you?
There's no changing minds of people like her. It's a bit like when you left home as a 17, 18, 20-year-old, you then automatically hate your dad because he was a tyrant who ran your household, and now you've broken free.
Yeah,
doesn't work like that.
No. It's and that's as you say. That's this plaque here that she is being destroyed by in her own article is exactly the proof that you need. We were the first black African people to successfully break free, and then we put up a little plaque saying, "We love you, thank you, Queen Elizabeth."
Yeah, let's stay friends.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't make sense.
We're still connected historically. We want to be connected in the future.
Yeah.
and let's carry on. And she wants that country to hate the UK,
Exactly.
and they don't.
Exactly. But she does hate that country because, as you said, when she went there, she got robbed and sexually assaulted and was, oh my God, I can't live here. I've got to live in London.
Well, she thought she was going to be their version of a female Gandhi or Mandela.
Yes.
Welcome home, our lost sister. Your trials and tribulations. Tell us your stories. You're with your people now.
I did a segment on this actually a while ago because in 2012 she'd come back and be like, I can't live in Africa. So, where are you going to live then, Afua? Oh, you're going to live in England, aren't you?
Hear them moan about it.
Yeah, exactly. And be paid to moan about it day after day.
Because we'll accept you moaning about
exactly.
it. Most countries won't accept that.
Exactly. Exactly right. And so what's funny is she ends this by saying, if it were possible to set all of this to one side, as in all of her hatred and demonization of Britain, maybe I would like to mourn the Queen. It's like, well, then you could, actually. You could get over yourself and actually mourn the Queen. But she's going, I can't separate her from a reign that refused to acknowledge the reality of my lies. But it's ironic because both of her grandfathers fled to Britain to escape tyrannical regimes. Like her grandfather from Ghana fled because he was being persecuted by the king of Ghana, whoever it was. And her other grandfather was Jewish who fled from the Nazis. They both fled to London. And it's like, that's because that's where people go when they don't want to.
What she's missing is some gratitude to this country.
Yes, indeed. Yeah,
just
exactly
pure,
right.
old, simple gratitude.
Yeah. And of course, just the final hater I figure we'll go for here. Kehinde Andrews. I don't mourn the Queen. Of course you don't, Kehinde. You can't. You spent your entire life demonizing this country. And the Queen, of course, was white. I mean, he calls her the number one symbol of white supremacy. Oh, God, Kehinde. Give it up, mate. No one is interested in hearing about your view of this anymore.
Unfortunately, some people are, though.
Well, there are, but this has not been... I just don't see this being the focal point of the conversation now.
I hope not. I hope this, with the Queen's passing, I hope this now changes the nation. I hope people now start rejecting some of this and calling this out. And instead of sitting there quiet going, I'll listen to you talk rubbish because I'm not that interested.
Yeah.
Instead of doing that, going, no, you're talking rubbish. I'm not having you speaking about the Queen like that or the country like that. And that's what it needs. It needs people getting a bit of a backbone. And the silent majority, stop being so silent.
Well, if we can go to the next one, you'll hear that this is an uptick in racism. And if you can go to the next one, in fact, The Independent are like, oh my God, the Queen's death has unleashed a torrent of racist abuse.
No, not having that at all.
Exactly. Not having it.
What she means is the Queen's death has unleashed a sense of Britishness, and people are talking about being British and are pulling people like her when she's being anti-British. That's what she means.
That's exactly right.